Who did you talk to get this trip cooking?
Well, I mean, someone comes along and I guess you would say purchases the parent company. That might have helped. There's some friends and connections over here, some colleagues, future colleagues that are in the work. So yeah, that's been a big part of my decision to go over to Global Series. And look, four NHL teams in the same city for 4 games and 4 nights presents some pretty significant content opportunities as well. So I just wrapped a 40-minute podcast with new NHLPA executive director Marty Walsh. Knocked out 3 other pods today as well. It's been a busy day. Lots going on here in Stockholm.
You're an absolute beast, Frank. Your initial impressions of Stockholm, man?
Beautiful place. Had never been to Sweden before, so that part has been really interesting. The time zone has been fascinating as well. Let's just say that after leaving, I left the arena last night at 12:30, and I was ready to go. I was like,
You're buzzing.
next thing you know, you're in a Burger King at 4 a.m. and stuff's going sideways.
Oh,
Frankie, what's the vibe over there? How much time are the guys getting off? How much time is dedicated to checking out the culture? I'm sure there's some distractions of maybe the blonde-haired persuasion, but are you seeing the guys out there? Are they visible, or are they keeping them kind of under wraps? How visible are they over there?
It's visible media wise for sure. William Nylander, I think, has been almost everywhere here in Stockholm, and understandably so. I think being out and about, I haven't seen much of these guys. I'm sure there's been a few shopping trips. I know in talking to a few teams that there's been some good team dinners. So that part has been a big part of this trip as well. But I think for the most part, they've kind of laid low. I don't think there's been anything crazy to this point, but let's see what happens the next couple days.
Frank, what are the chances we get a Nylander extension and come through the wire here in the next couple days?
I would never say never, but I think I would still be surprised.
Yeah. It's been an epic story. Everybody wants that, but like, do you have a general feel of like where this is headed? Like, are we going to a point like we know they're going to have this conversation at the deadline, what to do? Like, do you think this is going to be dragged out all year or what?
Well, is there really even a decision on what to do? Like, is this a question
True.
in terms of where this team is at in their competitive cycle? If it means getting to a point later on where they have to shake hands and say, hey, thanks so much for fulfilling
Mm-hmm.
your contract. Appreciated your time as a Leaf, and we'd love to keep you, but we just can't make it work. I think that's a way bigger reality than a trade potential. But I think in talking to people around the Leafs, they seem to be really optimistic that they can grind away at this and get something done. Is that optimism misplaced? I mean, I don't have a crystal ball, so I can't answer that. But just from, judging where they seem to think they are, they really want to make this happen because I think they all realize, and I think everyone around the NHL realizes that your team's a lot better with Nylander on it than not.
And what does that mean if you like? It seems like it's a foregone conclusion at this point with William Nylander playing the way he has, setting up his stock. There's no arguing with it right now. If you just can't let this guy go, what's the most likely scenario as far as roster changes to facilitate him staying on the roster with a new ticket?
It's a great question. I don't have the answer because it just becomes a pure math problem, right? Like you're
Yeah.
dealing with trying to, essentially give him a whatever it might be, $4.5, $5 million rate, whatever that number comes in at. It's a big number. Now you can kind of work your way backwards with the cap increasing and remove some contracts from the books, some guys that are on 1-year deals. Like there is a path to do it. I think the bigger and more overarching question is it the right play? And I don't mean from the Nylander perspective because that's obvious, but just listen to Sheldon Keefe this season. Like I think the Leafs need to take a step back once and for all and properly rebalance their construction with more emphasis on defense. And to me that's pretty obvious and abundantly obvious with the way the season has started. Um, that's where this team needs to change in order to become a true Stanley Cup contender. Like, I personally don't think Morgan Riley's a true number one defenseman. Go back to the old Mike Babcock conversation. Are there 13, 15, 17 of them in the league? Yeah, he plays in the role, but is he one? And then you work your way backwards from there.
What about, it's hard to think of, but to keep Nylander and then to get what you need on the back end, which I think we can all agree is holding them back right now. What about, you think about, well, do we need all four of those guys? Blow up the core four in some way. You go through the lines, not moving Matthews. Don't think you could possibly move Tavares with his 11 some million. It comes down to, would you move Marner out to get a monster piece on the back end back, and as well as opening up his value there with getting Nylander done?
So it would be, I don't have the cap friendly in front of me, but I'm pretty sure it's 1 year left for Tavares after this year, right?
Correct. Yeah, correct.
And if that's the case, then wouldn't you just try and find a soft landing spot, knowing that age-wise, roster construction-wise, scheme-wise, that it certainly feels like he would be the odd man out. Now, cap-wise, and also, experience and that he's a captain, all those other things are great attributes, but it's 1 year. And then you're having that same conversation. So can you head that off at the pass and almost in an odd way have him, quote unquote, do what's in the best interest of the team and waive whatever no trade he has in order to make something happen? I think it's a really delicate conversation, and he's also well within his rights to say no. But that would personally be the path that I think you'd have to think about.
Yeah, to me, it's fascinating too, right? Because Marner's up after next year too. And it's like we just started this last year with Matthews. We're going to Nylander, and Marner's going to be next with John Tavares. So that'll be very, very fascinating. Now, Frank, I don't know if you know, because you're overseas, there seems to be a conspiracy theory that the Leafs and Calgary have something cooking for Zadorov and Tanev. Can you just, end that? What are you hearing on that front? And why would the Flames move those guys right now is my question.
Well, I think the Flames are open for business. So that part, I think, is legitimate in that they realize their start to the season has been really difficult. They're also looking at the math and saying, if there's one team in our realm in this division that's going to make it all the way back and get into the playoffs, it's probably not going to be us. It's probably going to be the team that's below us in the standings in Edmonton. And the Oilers could well rip off 10 wins in a row here. They're 30% of the way there. Yeah. I don't think that would shock anyone if Draisaitl and McDavid just start bludgeoning the rest of the league. But for Calgary, I don't, unless they've done a really good job hiding it, I don't believe they have anything cooking. And more than that, I think Calgary, from sources close to the situation, they thought that there might be more interest, and I don't want to say interest, like the phone's ringing, but like significant, something that's going to make you think, let's have a real conversation here about Nikita Zadorov after the trade request became public, after, the start to the season for the Flames and the apparent changes that, probably need to be made. So the Flames haven't had anything going, to my knowledge, at least. That was before I came over here 48 hours ago. And I don't think that's changed near as I can tell.
Make sure to check out more of our content right here on the Leafs Nation YouTube page. We got long form interviews, we got clips, we got epic rants by Jay Rosehill. We simply have it all. And don't forget, you can find out much more at theleafsnation.com. Thanks so much for watching.